Vic, that van, Vic, the van behind the, sorry to interrupt you, but the van behind that car is now on fire. So both MTA police vehicles now on fire on North Avenue. So they've got the sedan sort of under control. I can still see some flames there, but now they've got to contend with the van as well. Baltimore City firefighters, the best in the country. They're going to take care of this in no time. And there you go. See how quickly they get that fire out. Looks like the tires are still burning on the car. Back to you, Vic. Coming out of the store. What do you say about Medevac? What's going on the right there? There's some... You know they're coming out of there with drugs. Oh yeah. You know they're going straight back to the pharmacy.
Extinguished, and it looked like the fire department became under attack, and the fire department ended up leaving. We're hearing signal 13s, which means officers need assistance for being pelted with rocks. I'm trying to get a better location for that right now. There's a large activity going here at the CVS where a lot of looting's been going on. They ended up busting out the windows at the CVS pharmacy. And
this has been going
at one
on
time
for like
I actually
10
saw
minutes.
them taking shopping carts
Wow.
and going in there and just pulling out items from the CVS. But I can tell you that the fire department was quick to leave Pennsylvania North to going on.
Yeah, this has taken such a terrible turn this afternoon with people being injured. I know on Twitter, the Reverend Wesley West of Faith Empowerment Temple says, let's not destroy our city.
Yeah. Yeah, as far as the fires going unattended or for a while, you can't expect a fire crew to go into a volatile area until it's going to be secured, and that means you've got to push those protesters, the people throwing the projectiles,
well, I
back
think they
far
went
enough.
in anyway because really there was nobody around there very much.
Yeah.
But they went in, put in the fires, and then got out of there.
I'm pretty sure it was probably secure enough to allow them to get in there, but you're not going to put firefighters in danger from a police. There you go.
Burning. That's an MTA police car, by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah, Jane Miller on Twitter
has been called for assistance, and they are about to send 40 officers into Baltimore City to help help the officers contain this and get it under control.
And right now we're going to go back to Barry Sims. He is in the Mondawmin Mall area, and
all right, I am here on Twin Falls Parkway. You can still see the police line, but there's a lady here who's actually sweeping. Her name is Cindy Oxendine, and Cindy
sounds like Barry's
trying
to
get some of the debris out of the road. She talked about
This is a
I never seen any of this. I thought I would never see anything like this.
You talked about it also being right here at your house.
Yeah, it's right in front of my door. And I'm home laying in their bed because my back up and I heard some screaming and helicopters and friend's baby's crazy out there. So I get up and limp to the door and I just see chaos out here.
You came out here and you started sweeping. Why did you do that?
Well, because there's a lot of people who use the streets, me especially. I have a lot of problems with tires. I'm having a problem now, and you got all these nails and the bricks in the street. So just want to clean up so I can be able to come through the street peacefully.
And then also, because it's also in front of your home, too.
Right. Exactly. I don't want to have to come home to a street that looks like this.
yeah.
But you talked about how peaceful it had been, too.
Yes, it's been very peaceful up until now. I don't know what went on. I have no idea. But,
All right, Cindy, thanks a lot. Thanks for talking with us. Appreciate it. Okay. So,
yeah, you can sense the frustration from that resident.
My gosh, yeah.
As people are marauding down her street. She sees the heavy police presence. She sees people throwing. I mean,
Can you imagine that right outside your front door?
No, I can't. I can't even imagine that. But a lot of people, as police push these crowds away from the stores, the Mondawmin Mall area, and into the neighborhoods, a lot of neighborhoods are going to see that.
That's Pastor Jamal Bryant
The Empowerment
taking
Temple.
a walk through the scene, and hopefully there to, I'm sure, try and encourage all of this violence to just stop. Just stop.
I believe we have Kai Reed. We saw a police vehicle on fire a little earlier and down the road. Kai, do we have you on the phone with us?
Yes, can you all hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I know you've seen some of this from above. We're really right in the middle of it right now, although I will tell you we have retreated a bit. People have started to run aggressively toward us, ask us why we're here, screaming, yelling. What we're seeing, first we saw this squad car that was on fire. It was engulfed when we first walked up. Fire truck came. What's odd is they sprayed it, and then, people were yelling and screaming and walking towards the fire truck, and I'll tell you, after about 5 minutes, they took off.
I don't blame them.
There is another squad car, a police squad car, just on the other side of of Pennsylvania Avenue there. It's just sitting there with the doors open. I'm not sure what's going on there. CVS is absolute chaos. In fact, that's where we were trying to, get as safely as we could, as close as possible, but that's when we started having people screaming, yelling at us, telling us to leave.
Yeah, and be careful, Kai.
Okay, but here's what I can tell you. People are behaving.
Kai, we want to interrupt you. We need to go to this live interview with Pastor Jamal
what
Bryant.
The family asked for today of all days. The family was very clear that this was a day of sacred closure in the funeral. So for us to come out of the calibrate because peace is the call and the order of the day.
Do you think this is just frustration and anger, or do you think it's much more than that?
it's frustration, anger, and it's disrespect to the family. The family was very clear. We've been saying it all along. Today, there is absolutely no protest, no demonstration that we go back into the street on tomorrow.
Pastor, what are you hearing? We're hearing it's not just in this area.
No,
but North Avenue.
No, we've got
downtown.
We have a team of men from the church going to North Avenue now to pull back those.
All right, Pastor Jamal Bryant from the Empowerment in Temple.
We've got a mic problem there.
Yeah, it was very clear that the family of Freddie Gray did not want this type of activity. The call went out from religious leaders, from civic leaders. This was supposed to be a day of mourning and a day of peace to honor the memory of Freddie Gray, but yet you still had a group of people who did not want to listen and have this afternoon.
It's heartbreaking to a lot of people. Right now we're going to check back in with Sky Team 11 and Captain Roy Taylor. Roy.
Very, very low on my end, but Utah is where this group is working at. There's a contingency of officers at Utah and Franklin waiting for them to block and protect Lexington Market. And it looks like they're trying to circumnavigate where police have set up, working their way over towards Howard Street. Yep. That's exactly where they're working. They're working their way towards Howard Street.
And Howard Street, of course, is where most of the trouble took place Saturday during the protest in the downtown area.
Yeah, this is way north of that. But yes, you're absolutely right, Stan. I don't know if they're going to try and use mass transit to work their way downtown, or if they're just going to continue causing havoc. But they're vandalizing a cab right now from what we can see. And that's off of Howard Street, between Howard Street and Utah Street.
Yeah.
They started beating up on the car. They opened up the car door. They actually tried to drag the individual out. Fortunately, the individual had a seatbelt on, and the individual put the car in reverse and just stopped on the gas. And people ended up going flying and was able to escape from harm with all the protesters that were, or demonstrators that were around him.
Yeah, this car being vandalized is a diamond cab. It looks like from the logo on the side.
And yes, and I mean, if you could notice what they did to the police cars and the van that was behind the police cars, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't set this on fire.
They're doing something inside it right now. It's hard to tell what, but something is going on inside the car.
Yes.
And you know,
so
Roy,
I mean, it's just, yeah, go ahead, Stan.
Roy, it appears that this has become so fluid now from the original spot of where it began around Mondawmin Mall. It seems to be spreading in all directions. Farther west, it's heading south towards the downtown area. I guess the best advice we can offer anybody right now, just stay away from the area. Don't even try to drive into the area because we don't know where something's going to flare up.
Exactly. You're absolutely right, Stan. I mean, it's a shame, but that's what's going on here. Your pockets from what was going on up towards Mondawmin Mall have literally broken out. And you stop thinking about it. This is a good distance. We're about, 3 or 4 miles from Mondawmin Mall.
Exactly.
And if you want to talk it, the web has increased to the fact where they're just causing, mayhem and destructions anywhere they want to. And as Donna was saying before with social media, I'm sure they're letting, friends know what they're doing, and it's just growing. They want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
It's just a nonstop.
It's so devastating for Baltimore City, too, because I know Anne Arundel County schools are canceling all trips to Baltimore City through May 3rd because of the unrest. So the physical damage done to the city, but also the financial damage done because people cancel trips here. It's like, I'm not going.
Yeah. Okay. It would be my hope. We see a lot of young people out here. I see a lot of backpacks. I see a lot of school uniforms. It'd be my hope that parents, if your kids have just gotten out of school, they're not home yet,
the banner
put in a call to them, have your kids come home. Tell them, come on home. Enough of the silliness, come on home.
Hey, Jane Miller is on the phone with us right now. Jane, where are you?
We are downtown. We saw the blockade of the police have set up at Utah and Saratoga, and we've got
behind us, coming down Cathedral Street, a sizable group of young people. It looks like they're all trying to converge on the, I'm not going to say the harbor, but downtown, probably the harbor. Traffic is moving, but the downtown is really kind of emptied out.
Mm-hmm.
I
think a lot of people closed early.
They did.
Jane, that tonight's Orioles game, they're planning to play as scheduled. The team has been consulting with Baltimore police all day and will continue to do so. But as of right now, the Orioles game is on.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of other things that aren't on, and
You're right.
It's obvious, there was another day of tremendous disruption, and obviously
terrible.
A very dangerous situation. So we are just trying to keep an eye on what may be happening in the next step.
Yeah. And we have a good vantage point from Sky Team 11. We can see how these people have dispersed off in several different directions. We can see where they're heading. But we should point out, you have the right to assemble. So even though we can see that many of these people were part of the larger group who were throwing rocks and bottles as they move away from the area and into the downtown area, you cannot assume as law enforcement that they are going to do something troublesome and as a result try to stop them. They have the right to assemble on the streets. Until you do something criminal or dangerous in nature, you can't be touched. So we should just point that out. And many of these people hopefully are going home right now. Maybe that's what I'm hoping.
The family of Freddie Gray had pleaded for no protest today. They asked for this. So obviously the people who are out on the streets right now don't care anything about Freddie Gray or the family involved.
Yeah.
Right now we're going to take it live to David Collins. He is over at the Western District Police Station. David.
Well, it's eerie calm here, and it looks more intense than it actually feels. Take a look behind me. You see the Western District Police. They are lined up. The barricades that they're back of are concrete, and they were put in just this afternoon. And you'll also notice that they have riot helmets on and their shields up. They've been mobilizing in and out of here, responding to the disturbance at Mondawmin Mall all afternoon. They've been standing in place here for the last couple of hours. They've extended, as I said, the barricades, and they look to have fortified their police district here. And the barricades have been extended about a half block to a block in several directions. And the officers, as you'll also notice, are in regular blue uniforms. However, because some of those members are retired, they have FOP on their license plates. They also have stickers to that effect on their vehicles, on their cars. There's also concern, obviously, that the protests, and as you all have been mentioning, it's unpredictable what group or groups are going where. A lady told us just a few moments ago that she is familiar with what the protesters want to do. And she suggested that they want to tear apart some of the affluent neighborhoods in Baltimore, and that's why they were headed toward the Inner Harbor and neighborhoods around that area. The neighbors around here are a little upset about the barricades. You can see, so the Mount Street over there has been cordoned off with a concrete barricade. The neighbors have been complaining to police that, you know what, you're being a little selfish here. What about us? They were concerned that their houses may also be destroyed.
Wow, David, what a scene we are seeing.
But David, as a follow-up question,
in and out of the area. They got into vans, they got into squad cars, and they kind of ripped out of the area. You can take a look right now. The police are moving a little bit. They're not telling us what their strategy is, but they've been doing this off and on, for the past couple of hours. They are prepared for anything, it appears.
Well, they
and
have to be
because
today.
the protests have been so unpredictable, they don't know. I mean, they could have easily, because Monroe Street, as we've been monitoring our coverage of this, Monroe Street, there's a stoplight right down there. And just over a few blocks is Monroe. And for whatever reason, whatever faction of the protest
emergency, where we can tell you 2 vehicles are now on fire. As Bridget widens out a little bit and goes to the right, you're going to see they're fully involved in flames here. Fire department tried to put it out earlier, but they became under attack from the demonstrators, and now it's just fully engulfed in flames. They have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 MTA buses that have actually stopped about a couple of blocks east of this intersection, waiting things out. They're not even moving. They don't want to get anywhere near where these protesters are, or demonstrators.
And again, you know, Roy, I think
North.
it really does a disservice to people who protest and demonstrate to call vandals and thugs protesters.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not sure what we would refer to these people as, but they are not protesting. They are simply vandalizing and destroying a neighborhood.
And certainly dishonoring the memory of Freddie Gray, whose family called for peace and calm on this day where they laid him to rest. As a matter of fact, it'd be great if, by contrast, we could show you what happened today at the funeral services for Freddie Gray.
So peaceful.
So many people showed up, so peaceful, no problems. Can we go ahead and run Deborah Wiener's package? Can't do it. I wanted to show the contrast between the peacefulness of what happened among thousands earlier today, and then you have a couple of hundred people who are doing this, that we're giving more attention to this than the thousands who are doing it the right way, is what we're doing.
I think on Saturday we called them knuckleheads, but I think it's even gotten beyond the level of knuckleheads.
Yeah.
So it's we've got some decided lawbreakers here who are looting this city and burning cars on the street, and it's just a sad day.
I know. I was out on the field last Thursday, last Friday, and I know that, you know, took a lot of criticism from people who say, you know, the media only wants to portray our community in a negative light. You only show the negative stuff that goes on in the community. And I try to point out to them, no, we don't. But when something happens, we do have to cover it. And it's just a shame that by contrast to the peaceful protests that happened for the vast majority of time, involving 99% of the people who wanted to get involved and send a message peacefully, that we have to spend so much time on a couple of hundred people who are bent on doing just the opposite. That's why I wanted to run Deborah Wiener.
Surely ended in his death.
Fred Gray lies here with us today, family. The whole world is watching.
His packed funeral at New Shiloh Baptist Church in West Baltimore attracted political leaders, religious leaders, and mostly people who never knew him.
Because I wanted to pay my respects to the family. I certainly recognize that Mr. Gray has caused a movement in Baltimore City, but also it's a personal matter, and I just wanted to offer my respects by just showing my presence.
We will not rest. We will not rest until we address this and see that justice is done.
Reverend Jamal Bryant of Empowerment Temple, who has led the movement that has become Freddie Gray, delivered a powerful eulogy.
Freddie's death is not in vain. After this day, we're going to keep on marching. After this day, we're going to keep demanding justice. After this day, we're going to keep exposing a culture of corruption.
He passionately urged Baltimore residents to get involved and stay involved.
Get your black self up and change this city.
When the funeral was over, it was pallbearers for the crush of media and onlookers who could barely get the casket in the hearse.
But at last, the public now knows the truth about what has been happening.
And the family?
Family is devastated.
Freddie Gray was laid to rest at age 25. Brother, uncle, son, symbol.
Well, that was Deborah Wiener reporting from the funeral service for Freddie Gray. And you saw the Reverend Jamal Bryant at the services late this afternoon. The Reverend Bryant went to one of the most volatile areas where not going to call them protesters. I'm going to call these people troublemakers, because that's what they are. As they were confronting police and throwing bottles, the Reverend Bryant came out trying to help calm the situation. And he point blank said, today was not a day about destruction. Today was not a day about destroying things. Today you were supposed to go to the funeral services, pay your respects, and let the process play out. Everybody wants answers, and they want them in a timely manner. He asked the people who are throwing the rocks, throwing the bottles, starting the fires, go home. This is not what this day was supposed to be about. There was actually no protests and no demonstrations were supposed to happen today.
Yeah.
It was all supposed to be all about the funeral.
Unfortunately, these people really don't care about that. That's not
so
what
obvious.
they're all about. They
That's so
they
obvious.
don't care at all. Right now, we're going to hear from a press conference that Captain Eric Kowalczyk with the Baltimore City Police gave earlier about officers who've been injured.
This afternoon, a group of outrageous criminals attacked our officers. Right now, we have 7 officers that have serious injuries, including broken bones, and 1 officer who is unconscious.
Wow. So you see the severity of the injuries, and this was something that we didn't see Saturday. The seriousness of how police officers are being treated today.
Exactly.
Being attacked.
And you know, interestingly enough, even while they're under attack, I still think they're showing a great deal of strength. I
think so too.
So far, no shots have been fired. So deal of strength. I
think so too.
So far, no shots have been fired. So far, you haven't seen any police officers swinging batons, anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
They are showing a great deal of strength while they are coming under fire. We mentioned earlier that 40 Baltimore County police officers have been are moving their way into Baltimore City to assist. We've just received word through a state police Twitter that 42 Maryland state troopers are currently in Baltimore City also assisting, and I understand Anne Arundel County also has officers in the city assisting.
And the University of Baltimore has announced through its police department that the university will close at 5:30 today because of developing events throughout the city. And they say to ensure the safety of the University of Baltimore campus community, all evening classes and activities are canceled tonight.
All right. Lisa Robinson, Kate Amara in the newsroom at our other set with some updated information for us. Ladies?
Yeah, a tweet that just came out from Baltimore City Police. It's something we've all been watching. They say several juveniles are part of these aggressive groups. We are asking all parents to locate their Office of Emergency Management, because I've noticed they've started to use the hashtag Baltimore riots. I have asked them, does this mean you're considering what we're seeing here a riot? Because as Donna mentioned, this clearly is not a demonstration. This is not a protest. I haven't heard back from them, but we know they're using the hashtag semantics perhaps, but language matters.
We're also hearing from police that people are continuing to get reports of people looting in the area of West North Avenue in Pennsylvania, and we've been watching it. That's probably one of the pictures you're seeing right there. It's unfortunate. People are destroying their very own communities.
And this is all happening, let's be reminded, as we're waiting for another Orioles game to start tonight, 7:05, with the Red Sox. Our reporter Karen Campbell is down there at Camden Yards, and we know the bicycle gates are up, although they're up a lot for big games. She says she's seen a few cops in riot gear. We haven't heard officially yet if what's happening now that we're watching, if that will affect the game in any way, but that is definitely something to keep in mind, especially if you're planning to come into the city to watch that game tonight. We know that there's trouble with the metro stops. There's several more now that have been added to the list that are closed down. We know that we haven't heard officially from the MTA yet about how this has disrupted bus service, but I haven't seen one bus go by the bus hub at Mondawmin Mall in the last 2
find your children. Again, they say we're asking for parents to please bring your children home. We don't want to see anyone get hurt. And right now, what they're facing, especially in the communities where this has been going on, they want to make sure that people in the neighborhoods are safe, and the police have deployed a number of their officers in those areas, extra resources to make sure that they keep the people in those communities safe, their homes, their property, because it's got to be awfully scary. We heard from a woman who was out sweeping, cleaning up.
You know what?
She's
I
the
would
real
love
Baltimore.
to put that video, if we could put that video up of Cindy, the resident who went out to sweep the nails, she said, the screws, the broken glass. We don't have that, but anyway, as she was sweeping it, talking to Barry with the line of police and riot gear behind her, I'm sure a lot of our viewers who saw that said, that is Baltimore, that's who we are, and these rioters and these aggressive groups that we're seeing, we're better than that. This is not who we are. But Roy has been telling us how they've been trying to kind of maneuver these groups and corral them, and now they're walking across a field somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where this is. Well, Donna and Stan, do you know what we're looking at here?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, where
you have to pull out a little wider.
Where exactly are they headed?
I'm not sure. Maybe Roy can tell us.
Yeah, Roy, where are you? It's hard
south
to
of Mulberry.
Off Mulberry Street, huh? You know,
obviously ball fields of some sort.
yeah.
Martin Luther King, south of Mulberry, right
Okay,
now is
Martin
where
Luther
this is
King.
at. These were the juveniles or individuals, or I guess we can call them rioters now, that were working around Lexington Market, and now they're starting to wreak havoc over here in the neighborhood. There isn't any police that's in pursuit of them. It's just that they originally were around the area of Lexington Market, and now they've worked their way up into the homes, going through the homes here on the west side of MLK, just south of Mulberry.
Yeah. Again, Roy.
And so we're watching this group here that's.
Yeah. Again, Roy. There's no law that
sorry,
says.
There's a lot of radio traffic going on between the police and the other helicopters that are up here.
Yeah,
There's just so much going on.
As we see these young people walking, Captain Roy, there's no crime against walking. They have to be caught doing something before police can intervene.
Property and the people that have been injured, the rocks and bottles that have been thrown, bricks, concrete blocks that were busted up and used as. Looks like they're going to take and attack a store here at Mulberry and MLK.
There you go. Now you have somebody doing something. Now you can start making arrests here.
That's exactly what they're doing.
When they start vandalizing, trying to break things,
trying to take
now you're breaking law. We see them clearly.
Smash and grab here at the Rite Aid store.
Yeah. Can you zoom in tighter here, Roy?
That's exactly what's happening here.
Yeah. Could you have your photographer zoom in tighter,
and it's
please?
Probably about 50 of them.
They may be as tight as they can get because you can't get too close to the ground.
That are working. They're trying to bust the windows out. I don't
work.
know if that Rite Aid is open or closed. My gut feeling is that they've probably shut down. But I can tell you the city police helicopters over top of that, monitoring that, and they're starting to work from that Rite Aid store now, again, westbound towards,
okay, Karen,
I guess further towards
Roy,
the Western District.
Roy, we're going to continue to watch this video. We'll check back with you in a second if anything happens, but right now we're going to go to 11 News reporter Karen Campbell. She's by phone, and I know, Karen, you've got an update on the Orioles game?
Yes, well, as of this time, I am told that the game is expected to go on as planned. I am standing outside of the Utah Street entrance, and there was an officer that came up to me and said that they are in the process of closing all of the gates. Now, I was told about a minute ago that the north entrance or North Street entrance, he wasn't sure, but he said the entrance on the north side was one that will remain open, as well as he had mentioned Home Plate Plaza. But standing out in front of the Utah Street entrance, there are, I count about 7 or 8 officers in riot gear, and they do have barricades up in front. They are preparing, they said they're preparing for the worst is how they described it to me. But that is the scene here now. It's pretty empty on the street. They're not allowing cars to come down here, and fans that are still coming in, fans are still trickling in to this side, and I'm seeing a couple of fans have been let through the Utah Street entrance as well.
Okay. All right, Karen, thanks so much. If you hear anything else, let us know, okay?
Social media needs to be monitored.
Saturday, Donna, as you well know, Camden Yards downtown was a focal point of a lot of the protesting. There was concern about people inside the stadium, trying to get them into the stadium, and then after.
Mobilize resources to the critical areas very quickly and try to instill a sense of peace.
You've been a part of the Baltimore police community for a very long time. When was the last time you saw something even close to this, Rob?
I haven't seen anything close to this, but what I have seen are, neighborhood disputes where things have been thrown at, police officers, and there's this issue of police-community conflict. But generally, that has been confined to particular areas, districts, or communities. But what we're seeing here, I think, is the foundational issue of trust, right? The police department needs to trust and understand that the law-abiding citizens in the community have a voice that they want heard and concerns. And citizens have to trust police that the investigation will continue to unfold in a way that is honest and forthright, and that, in order to have a great sense of safety in their neighborhoods, both the community members and police officials need one another.
So in your opinion, this is about more than just Freddie Gray?
I think it's much more than Freddie Gray. Freddie Gray, while, a very, very tragic incident all the way around, I think you're finding people with different motivations, protesting police, protesting how they feel about society in general. And I just think there's a lot of different types of motivations that have all really formulated in and around this particular incident. At the heart of it, though, would be the
social
trust
media
issue that I
and
spoke of between police across this country
what the plan
and the communities they serve.
is anybody's guess for
All right.
the
Well,
folks
we
who are
thank
still
you very much,
the
Rob Weinhold,
folks who are still headed this way.
Public
It's
Information
interesting,
Officer with
you talk about social media. Most young people are so in tune to social media, and a lot of the word of what was they wanted to happen, where it was going to happen, took place on social media, from what I understand.
There were some flyers distributed too, I believe. This was a planned day at 3 o'clock. Some sources of mine that are in law enforcement, they were really preparing earlier in the day. I think that what happened at Mondawmin was probably beyond their expectation. But this is obviously a very challenging situation because the city of Baltimore is not small. It's not a small town. And you have a lot of ways in and out of downtown. And, obviously if you're on foot, there are lots of ways to get down here. So
Sure. I mentioned on the air about an hour ago that, we saw primarily the vast majority of these people who were throwing things and starting things on fire were young people. We could see that they were wearing school uniforms. We could see that many of them were wearing backpacks. And so I assumed that a lot of them were students. And I put out the call for parents out there. Be proactive, call your children, tell them it's time to come home. And now we're getting the same message that the Baltimore City Police Department would like the same. They want parents to use that social media, call their kids, it's time to come home. We don't want you to get hurt. The only thing that's going to happen if you stay out there and continue to do this is somebody is going to get hurt. Nobody wants you to get hurt. It's time to come home. Trying to hammer that message home. It's time to be proactive, get your kids to come home.
Yeah, what you're looking at here is these are vans from the Sheriff's Department, which are just getting in place. On Saturday night when I was down here, this was a real hot spot of the demonstrators that shut down the intersection, and then a group of young guys that came running down Pratt Street and started trying to break through the glass at the gallery. This is where some of that destruction of property was. You can see they're probably going to be clad in their protective gear as well. These are Baltimore City employees of the Baltimore City Sheriff's Department. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're taking a position on that corner because this is really the heart of downtown. And, they want to be prepared for whatever they might be the plan of the group that is, I guess, headed this way. I don't know. Well, I guess there's more coming across the street, though, as well, to the Inner Harbor, which are going to walk in the frame here in a second, I believe.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. These are reinforcements.
Yeah, when you look at the CVS being looted, that's a very important store
to
that area, North Avenue.
CVS is like a lot of these, these aren't drugstores anymore. They're drugstores plus. They are little department stores in these neighborhoods. And in some neighborhoods, Donna, you and I both know that in some neighborhoods, that's the main business.
That is the main business.
So
when
the
you
CVS and these other pharmacies, it's correct.
CVS thinks, well, do we even want to have a business here?
There you go.
And the city has worked
and go home.
City has worked very hard to attract this kind of business. Yes,
that's a tragedy.
And I'll tell you that the city talks about trying to attract grocery stores, et cetera, and this is not a good
not helpful.
Jane, we want to go
image for that.
We want to go Capitol right now because it looks like they're trying to make their way.
Just to let you guys know that this is okay. All right, just to let you guys know, at North and Pensy, where they originally looted the CVS, now they're trying to bust into a bank, as you can see, and some other stores. This would be the northwest corner of Pennsylvania Avenue and North Avenue. Now, the police are in the process of trying to work their way down here to start pushing these people out, but right now you can see, I'd say at least 100, 150 people in the area of North and Pensy where they're in the process of looting more stores, breaking out the windows. We just heard them talking about the bank that they were just trying to get into, and I'm not quite sure because I can't really look at the monitor and
I don't see a
by the
name
aircraft with
for
the other
it.
helicopters that are out here. I got to
But
keep my eyes
it's a
on
pay
that.
bills, debit cards, checks, cash type of place.
Yeah, but and the problem with that, now you've moved from vandalism into robbery. If you're trying to break into a bank and trying to steal money, now you're looking at robbery.
Can you tell if they've actually busted through there yet or
Yes,
gotten inside?
yes, oh yes, they've definitely gotten inside, Captain Roy.
Okay.
They're inside.
It looks like they're all exiting now. I don't know if that's because they've been confronted by armed guards on the inside, or
I doubt it.
They're
running out.
They're coming out fast.
It appears to me that there's probably somebody armed in there that's sending them on their way. I'm going to make that assumption.
Yeah,
That's an assumption on my part. Don't know for a fact.
I can tell you one thing, nobody's going in.
That's for sure.
And everybody came out.
That's for sure.
So something happened in there that
It
got
looks like
their
they busted
attention.
out the windows to get out. Oh, there they go back in again.
I don't know what's happening here. That's a
So, I
very,
mean, that's
very
amazing.
dangerous situation.
All right.
Very dangerous.
Extremely volatile, extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
Right now we're going to check back in with Barry Sims, where really all of this trouble began this afternoon, close to Mondawmin Mall. And where are you, Barry?
Wait. Before we go away, before we go, Captain Roy, that looks like a money bag. The young man in the sweatshirt and the tan pants, that looks like a money bag that he just brought out of that bank. White satchel, typically used for transporting funds. You see armored cars pulling him out of the armored car, taking him in. Not that one there. There's somebody that came out of that bank with what they call a white satchel bag. All right, I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but
and if they were, they're probably long gone.
Well, they briskly walked away.
Yes.
Came out with the bag.
Barry Sims, what's going on where you are, and where are you?
Okay. Correct, Mike. Okay.
Yeah, we're waiting for.
All right. Right now we have some vehicles. Some with saying that they are state trooper vehicles coming in and accepting the license plate saying that there are some.
Hey Barry, if you could turn your mic on, that would be helpful. We think it's off. We're hearing you a little bit, but not very much. Something about state troopers. But again, this was a store that was just vandalized and looted just a few minutes ago.
It's very interesting
Like
how
people
quickly
coming out and mound, they're
how
gone.
quickly they went in and how even
They
quicker
are
they
gone.
came out. Yeah.
They're moving down. Much better. All right. As you can see, right now we're showing you officers getting into vehicles. Just a little while ago, we had state police move down in their vehicles. Right now, we can see officers with in their tactical gear. They are loading up in vans right now, and not exactly sure if they're moving down the road here on. They try to move through. The state police actually did go down Reisterstown Road, not exactly sure where they went. And again, we're not sure if these officers are moving down toward down the road or if they are actually leaving at this point. We're waiting to see. I can tell you that we're in the middle of what it seemed like two different fires, one at opposite ends, and there was we could see the smoke and we could see that on both ends. The police did stay here, though. In this area, they maintained a heavy presence, and I can look over at Monroe Street right now. Monroe and Gwynns Falls police are still maintaining a line at that intersection, and they also are. Again, it looks like they are leaving from at least this location and feeling like at this point that they have a lot of it under control. As you can see, there are officers who are still standing outside of vehicles. All
right. All right, Barry Sims in the neighborhood near Mondawmin Mall off Monroe Street in Gwynns Falls. And from what we could see, the pictures we had from there, it appeared there were more police officers at that location than there were troublemakers at that point.
And it looks like we've got another car fire here at, and I'm not sure where are you now, Roy?
This is just north of Mondawmin Mall where they've set another car on fire. You can see some of the, I guess, individuals that are involved in this that have been running around.
We also are hearing that
it would be just to the west of Reicherstown Road and just to the east of Liberty Heights. So it looks like they're just starting to work out the neighborhoods, and as they decide, to destroy property, that's exactly what we're doing. We see a contingency about maybe 50 or 60 individuals that were watching what's being burned, but I don't think the fire department's going to be responding anywhere near this area because it's just not safe. As they try to get here to put these cars out, they end up being attacked.
Roy, does it appear to you that from where the action was concentrated really very close to Mondawmin, it's now people are scattering out and causing trouble out in the neighborhood?
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. You got large groups of people in some areas, like north of Pensy, where they've just been going from store to store there.
Right.
And then you got spurts of groups, 50, 60, that have gone to other neighborhoods and just set cars on fire, destroyed property. You saw them destroying that checkered cab. You saw them bust into some of the businesses, breaking out windows. And like I said, when we first came on board with this, we actually saw them do a hit and run at the 7-Eleven store at Liberty Heights. So it's now ongoing. I don't want to say it's as bad as it was in the 60s, but it's a heck of a lot worse than it was Saturday night.
Yes, it definitely is.
Yeah.
We didn't see any of this kind of thing.
Yeah, 100% correct on that. I have to tell you, personally, I'm troubled by the use of the word riot. For those of us who are old enough to remember real riots across America, including here in Baltimore, this is nothing compared to those riots. So let's make that perfectly clear. But from a linguistics point of view, from a law enforcement point of view, they put terminology on things because they have to respond in kind. But no, nothing compared to, there you go, nothing compared to the riots back in the 60s,
well, it is
80s out in Los Angeles.
Some riot-like behavior, but to call this...
that would be...
Utah Street, they were asking people if they're going to the game to hurry up and get inside. I actually saw a couple of families with some pretty young kids, maybe 2-3 years old, coming to the game. So again, there are still people expected to come see an Orioles game tonight. I have not heard at this point if this game will continue or if it will be canceled. Again, I just want to mention that people are still coming to this game. You see 2 people walking through the gate right there, and police are standing by, again, in their riot gear, getting ready because these rioters, they expect them to come to this area. But again, right now, we haven't seen any activity in this area. And here are 4 more people coming into the gate here. And it appears as though, yeah, I'm starting to hear more sirens in this area, so I'm not sure what to expect right now. Again, I don't see any activity of rioters coming in this area, but again, I have heard lots of sirens
surrounding this area. So again, we are live in front of the North Utah Street Station, and I'll keep you updated if anything else happens here.
Yeah, Karen, quick question for you. Have you seen any fans going in thus far? The game time tonight, 7:05. You're talking about roughly an hour and 15 minutes before the first pitch. A lot of fans generally would start to make their way in there by now.
Yeah, we just saw some walk in.
Not many.
No, not many.
No, not many. I've seen maybe a handful of people. It is really dead in this area right now. And as I said before, I saw maybe 6 people in the last 10 minutes kind of walk through this gate. And
Karen, hate to interrupt you, but we got to run,
Yeah.
and we'll check back with you in just a minute. Right now, we're going to go live to Captain Eric Kowalczyk, who is on the telephone with us. And Captain, thank you for joining us on what I know is a really busy and troubling day for you. Talking a little bit earlier about the injuries to officers. Any updates on that?
Hey, Donna, Stan, thank you for letting me have the opportunity to come on. I'm still trying to get some updated information on the condition of our officers. I was obviously very concerned about having 7 of our officers attacked in an unprovoked manner. What I can tell you right now, I know that the images that people are seeing on TV are very disturbing. Our highest priority, our first focus right now has to be to protect the lives of our officers who are out on the street and the people that live and work in that area. So right now you see us putting additional resources into the area so that we can begin moving our resources in a manner that is safe and it makes sense, so that we don't unnecessarily put anyone at risk, so that we can begin to bring this situation to an end. As the night goes on, you're going to see us using tear gas and other crowd control techniques so that we can have this end peacefully without any more injuries to our officers or to any of the people that are in that community.
Eric, this seemed to have branched out in a major way from Mondawmin Mall in several different directions. Have you gotten a sense of what their game plan is, where they're planning to head at this point, and trying to get ahead of that?
You know, Stan, it's really difficult to speculate about not only just the causes of this, but where this is headed. What we know is that we're bringing resources into the area. We talked the other day about the fact that we had reached out to our local law enforcement partners, who we're incredibly thankful for. They're sending us resources so that we can put officers into this community so that we can bring this to a peaceful resolution. This morning we put out a release. The individual that is now somewhat infamous, who was standing on top of one of our police cars in the blue hoodie that had smashed out the windows, we took that individual into custody this morning. Our detectives are able to use the resources that are out there, are very good at investigating cases, and the people that are out there right now destroying other individuals' hard-earned property, money, businesses, we're gonna investigate. We're gonna find those people, and we're gonna take people into custody for these acts.
Hey, Captain, and I know that most of us do not at all understand police tactics and everything, but when we see these pictures of vandals going up and down the street and looting the CVS and looting the check cashing store, and no police around, I think sometimes people might wonder, well, where are the police? Is it just you decide just not to deploy them to that area at that time?
You know, Donna, those images are as frustrating for your viewers as they are for us.
Of course.
But again, as I said at the beginning, we need to make sure that when we move our officers, that we're doing so in a manner that's safe, that protects them, and that protects people in the area. The level of violence that you saw earlier today, the number of officers that we had that were injured, we can't allow that to happen. It's not acceptable.
And it puts them at risk to, I guess, to go into a situation like that.
And it doesn't take away from our concern. We need to do everything that we can to bring this to a peaceful resolution as quickly as possible. We're moving resources to do that, but we want to make sure that we do it in a manner that no one is injured.
Eric, you put out a message to the media to assist you in getting this message out, which I had mentioned about an hour ago on the air. It's time for parents to step up, get their kids to come home. Would you like to repeat that?
Absolutely. You know, we have kids that are out here that are committing just absolutely unacceptable acts of violence and lawlessness. They have parents. They have parents that should know where their children are.
A lot of businesses are closed too. Pratt Libraries closed, Lexington Market closed early, T-Row Price sent their employees home very early. But the one thing I definitely can see is I get red lines, green lines. If things get slower, you'll see a red line. North Avenue, the Penn North station for Metro, that is closed right now, but North Avenue is just a solid red line because that's where a lot of this traffic is trying to get through right now, right near this check cashing place that was broken into an hour ago. go, as we now see another contingent of people running right now. So not sure, and then we kind of lose the video, but it looks like they are still running from the police. Just a huge police presence now in toward the area of Baltimore City.
All right, Robert Altman, we thank you so much. We're going to return to Brad Bell in West Baltimore. Last time we talked to you, Brad, you were at Reisterstown Road and Gwynns Falls Parkway. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry. We had to pick the camera up off the ground. I was actually helping a gentleman throw some construction materials back in a box. They were taken from his work site and thrown at police, and now he's out here collecting them. You know what? We're going to pan around here. We'll show you the scene. Gwynns Falls, Reisterstown Road. This was ground zero earlier today. A lot of rocks flying in all directions.
Go business to business, bust out the windows, go inside, loot, or just bust windows in general. Some people have had baseball bats. Some people have been using trash cans. Some people have been using any and all types of items that they're able to grab hold of, and just literally destroying it. We've seen some civilians that have been trying to traverse the area and find themselves right in the middle of this, and then wondering how to get out of it. It's just been total chaos as far as trying to keep people safe, trying to preserve property and not have anybody get hurt, and it's just not happening. I mean, they just literally do not care. It's just destroying, stealing, looting, business after business after business. So this is North Avenue, about 1 block west of Pennsylvania Avenue. That's where we're seeing this group here. And then there's another large group that's on the east side working its way eastbound on North Avenue as well. So we're going to monitor the situation. We're going to throw it back to you guys.
As we continue to look at your pictures, two sad points come to mind right now. Number one, there are cameras everywhere. Surveillance cameras, cell phone cameras, just like we saw on the weekend. There were so many good pictures of people who are doing the vandalizing, the breaking the windows and going in, that if people think they're going to get away with doing something like this and nobody notices them, a couple of days from now, your picture is going to be plastered. They're going to know where you are, and they're going to pick you up.
Maybe they really don't care.
Young people, I know there's frustration out there among young people about lack of job opportunities and their social condition and what have you. And it's very real for them. But this is not going to help their situation.
City of Baltimore they have a shelter in place due to the potentially violent activity that's happening. Horace Holmes is in the newsroom right now. He's been updating us on some of the other developments. Horace, what do you have now?
Well, it's very interesting, the pictures that we're showing right there. I believe that's North Monroe Street, just given the church, that big great church that is right there. What you're seeing is protesters on the left-hand side of your screen, and you see a number of gentlemen who are in suits, who are standing in front of those protesters and urging them to stop. Those are probably, most likely, members of churches that have been asked to come out and stop these protesters from coming downtown. You heard the Reverend Jamal Bryant, who gave the eulogy at the Freddie Grays Funeral, came out just about an hour and a half ago and said that members from churches would be out to meet the protesters as they were going downtown, along with members of the Nation of Islam, to try to convince these kids to stop, turn around, and go back home. And that, I believe, is what you're seeing right there, pictures of, as you're seeing the older gentlemen in the suits with the young kids and urging them now to disperse and stop throwing rocks, because that's what was going on right there. As far as what's going on, if this protest does indeed move downtown, we understand that the Orioles game is going on, at least right now, as scheduled. Slated to start at 7 o'clock. MLB says that it will start. We have heard from members of the Baltimore Orioles, including Buck Showalter, the manager, who says that the team has been out taking batting practice along with the Chicago White Sox, their opponents tonight. But the gates at Camden Yards have been closed, meaning that people trying to get to the game, at least for right now, cannot get into the stadium, so we don't know what's going to happen. A number of organizations, a number of businesses, institutions in downtown Baltimore what might happen, including the University of Maryland, Baltimore, which has a campus right down in Inner Harbor. They have issued a shelter-in-place order for everyone who is on campus, again, fearing the worst, preparing and trying to keep the people who are at the campus safe at this point. That's the latest from here. We also got word from Baltimore City Police, as you were talking about, the fact that they have... We're getting something new?
Yes.
Okay.
PG Fire, tactical paramedic.
Okay, so we just got this. I just got this. The Prince George's County Fire Department tactically trained paramedics with law enforcement units are in Baltimore right now. They are great use to the personnel, providing help for those who are injured, no matter how small the injury may be, but they are in place right now. So that's
White Sox at Camden Yards. Right now we're hearing from fan services the game is on. The White Sox are warming up. They have shut down Utah Street entrances A and 1 and 2, and they do have the main entrance. They're guiding everyone to the main entrance. They could have 19,000 plus fans in that stadium tonight. They don't know now because of the problem here and what happened on Saturday night.
These are live pictures. This is yet another business that looks to have unwanted visitors. This looks to be either a liquor store or a convenience store in Baltimore. You can see people coming and going up. Yeah, it looks like damage is starting to happen there. This is typical of what we've been seeing throughout the afternoon. You can see individuals that are starting to tear. Yep, there it goes. Tear the windows out of these locations. I'm not familiar with this particular location, but I can tell you that many of these corner stores have pretty heavy-duty security in certain parts of Baltimore City. You know, they have security fences up for where they exchange money. Those windows tend to be pretty strong. So to see one of these locations get looted, these tend to have better security than other stores.
And something else, just to put this in context, this started right after Freddie Grays' funeral this afternoon, and Congressman Elijah Cummings has let it be known in no uncertain terms that he is disappointed and disgusted at this. He said, if you want to protest, it looks like they're firing off
they're throwing things at
them.
It may be bottles because they're exploding.
Looks like a liquid, yeah.
That is the armored vehicle, or it may be a similar looking armored vehicle that we've seen throughout the afternoon that would be used to break up the crowds as they started to damage businesses.
But getting back to Congressman Elijah Cummings, he said if you want to peacefully protest, if you have a message that you want to convey peacefully, do that. But this is just pure destruction and opportunistic destruction that doesn't in any way honor the life or the death of Freddie Gray.
And Wendy, they're asking me to remind everyone that the Emergency Operations Center has been activated by the mayor of Baltimore. This is a pretty significant step. This is when there's a big event in town. This means that a lot is happening in the city right now. Typically, it gets activated when there's a hurricane, right, when there's a natural disaster. Now it's being activated for criminal violence throughout the city. And let me rephrase that. I should say that it has been isolated to a specific group that's been making its way down about a 10-block distance. We are hearing that other parts of the city continue to be calm and peaceful, including places like the Inner Harbor and Camden Yards. But the concern is that the protesters or the folks that are causing the violence might make their way to those locations. So we have seen an increased police presence around many of the more well-known landmarks in the Inner Harbor area and the Camden Yards area.
And we have some, if you are traveling to Baltimore or you know someone that is traveling within Baltimore, because of the police activity, we've been told that in the downtown area, the metro subway stations at Mondawmin, Penn North, Upton Avenue Market, State Center, Lexington Market, they're all closed. And MTA light rail service northbound will run from BWI Airport, the Cromwell Station, to Patapsco, but will terminate there.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. They're basically shutting off the light rail system before it can get to this area. So we'll continue to keep you all posted on what we're watching here and if it continues to move south towards the inner city.
All right, Tisha Thompson, Wendy Rieger, thanks. We hope you guys will stand by. I think we have the basic information. We've been repeating a few things, but this started about 2.5 hours ago. It followed the Freddie Grays Funeral, and it followed some students getting out of a public school, going across the street in the area near where the funeral was. At least 7 police officers have been injured in the violent clash with these groups of young people. We've seen a lot of looting and some fires, and we do understand that all of the officers who were injured are at the hospital getting treatment now. One of them was said to be unresponsive a while ago. We don't have an update on his condition, and we also know that Baltimore police are urging parents to, because this does seem to be a lot of young people involved here, they're urging parents to find out where their children are and get them home and get them out of harm's way.
A lot of kids, in fact, while it is a very fluid situation, we have noticed twice here, just in the few minutes that we've been watching, that at these situations of considerable disruption, at some point, a group of grown men will come along, as they are in the center of your picture there right now, and try to calm these kids down. We noticed then that the children moved to another location. First, they were at the corner there. Some adult men, and implored them to cease the violence. Now you see the kids have moved up the street to yet another store. There's a lot going on here. One wonders just exactly how much it has to do with the Freddie Grays situation. Certainly it is subsequent to that, but not necessarily, from what we have witnessed so far, connected with it. Scott McFarland joins us now. We noticed earlier, Scott, a Baltimore Transit Authority, well, if that's the right word, car, bus, whatever it might have been, on fire. How are they responding to this?
It's the Maryland Transit Administration, which protects all the transit parts in Baltimore. So 7 city police officers injured, at least 1 Maryland Transit Administration lieutenant injured as well. A state official told me a few moments ago it was an attack on that officer at the Penn North Metro Station in Baltimore. They have just in the last few moments extended all the shifts for Maryland Transit Administration police officers to 12-hour shifts, and they deployed 150 of their officers to help reinforce Baltimore City Police. And let's be clear, Baltimore City Police are not responding to this alone. We have reinforcements from Montgomery County, Prince George's County, Howard County. Maryland State Police had 40 troopers there earlier today. Come 7:30 tonight, they're going to send 42 more. So we're at 82. So this is a group effort, but at the same time, to be clear, not just 7 officers injured now, it's at least 8 if you include the lieutenant who was attacked today from Maryland Transit Administration Police.
Here's what we have not seen, though. We have seen an armored car in 2 different locations that just drove through the area while rocks and bottles were hurled at it. We have not seen the big, heavy-duty stuff that I believe they have in Baltimore, don't they?
Well, Maryland State Police have a lot of that. And in fact, the police agencies throughout Maryland have more than 2,000 pieces of military-grade equipment given to them by the Department of Defense. Baltimore City Police have about 20 M14 rifles given them by the Department of Defense in the military surplus program. Now, that program came under a lot of scrutiny after Ferguson, after the unrest there. Yes. You don't see tanks in this video, but there are armored vehicles throughout the state of Maryland. City of Laurel has one. City of Hyattsville has military-grade equipment. We'll see if that makes its way into the city, or at least into the images we're seeing from the city. But Maryland State Police made very clear they have not sent their military-grade equipment with those 82 troopers.
You have to believe that police agencies all over America learned something from what happened in Ferguson and the aftermath. I just have one other question. You're talking about all the law enforcement agencies coming in to support what's happening there in Baltimore. What about the National Guard?
National Guard has not yet been called up, but on social media, I can tell you that question's being asked rhetorically. When is the National Guard going to be called up? Baltimore City Police, we should mention, has its own training academy. And one of the courses in that 27-week training academy in Baltimore, civil unrest, how to respond to looting, how to respond to something akin to what we're seeing here.
All right, Scott McFarland, thank you for that information. We're going to go to a telephone interview now with Andrew Mullenbeck. He's with WTOP Radio. He is on the ground in Baltimore. Andrew, what are you seeing?
I'm on West North Avenue in West Baltimore, and it really is an absolutely unsettling scene. I'm still looking at the smoldering of a police cruiser that was set on fire, I would suppose about 45 minutes ago now when I got on scene. Protesters or rioters have looted storefront after storefront. You see people walking down the sidewalks with crates over their shoulders, carrying all the looted goods. Some people are running with bags, full bags in their hands from looted stores. About 20 minutes ago, a dozen or so police cruisers came by here to an area of heavy looting. They dispersed some tear gas. That cleared a bit of the protesters. But really an ominous scene here as protests kind of move from one part to another part of the city. And the reality is no one really knows when it's going to end.
Andrew, let me ask this, Jim Vance. Have you seen anybody injured or anything? We know there's property damage, but how about personal injuries?
I've not seen personal injuries as far as the rioters themselves. Obviously, we know about those police officers who we just talked about now, 8 police officers who have sustained injuries, some of those broken bones. But as far as actual observing people that are demonstrating here, I've not seen any injuries. I have heard anecdotally from people that there was a fight here or there, but I've not actually seen anything.
We are watching the images on TV, and it seems that this crowd, it's kind of like a snake moving through the streets, very fluid. Is that what you see from your viewpoint?
That's what I see as well, and I would say also I see a great deal of opportunism. Some people may not be involved for the whole protest or the whole riot, the whole demonstration, but they see some, they run out, they engage in looting at one particular store, and they move on. So the crowd, the overall number of people participating really is a revolving number. I think people just see an opportunity and they get involved, and it really takes on a new dynamic block by block.
And can you talk a little bit, Andrew, about the police, the way police are responding, what you're seeing from them?
I'm sorry, I have a person next to me telling me here to be careful, still very close to a lot of the action. Saying that they just looted a bar around the corner. What I've seen from police is showing a great deal of restraint. That's what they've said so far, is that they've tried to show as much restraint as possible. Certainly they are out in extremely heavy numbers, but I have seen bricks being tossed at them, being tossed at the police cruisers, being actually tossed at them standing on the street corner, and I have not seen any retaliation.
All right, Andrew, watch your back out there, man, because it
I'll try to.
Is a fluid and dangerous situation. Tisha Thompson at our live desk now. Tisha, what do you have?
Right, Jim. There's been a lot of conversation about what does Governor Larry Hogan have to say about all this. He just issued a statement. He says that he is closely monitoring the situation in Baltimore City and has been in contact with the mayor of the city. He says Maryland State Police have been dispatched in a supporting role on the ground, as well as other resources and equipment from various state agencies, as we've been reporting. Here's a direct quote. Today's looting and acts of violence in Baltimore will not be tolerated. In response, I have put the Maryland National Guard on alert so they can be in position to deploy rapidly as needed. I strongly condemn the actions of the offenders who are engaged in direct attacks against innocent civilians, businesses, and law enforcement officers. There is a significant difference between protesting and violence, and those committing these acts will be prosecuted under the full extent of the law. The statement continues to go on and ends with the Governor Hogan saying these malicious attacks against law enforcement and local communities only betray the cause of peaceful citizens seeking answers and justice following the death of Freddie Gray. You are looking at live pictures. We are being told that that is Fulton Avenue and North Avenue. Essentially, the protesters have been slowly working their way, breaking into one business after another down one of the main streets of Baltimore City.
What can I add? It's Wendy. One thing, Vance, that was just interesting to watch, and the camera is, I mean, the helicopter camera is now on top of this liquor store, but just across the street was a cell phone store, and when they started to go into that, men came out. Some thought older men thought they were clergy. They're the men in the red bow ties. They might be with that.
They're very recognizable.
Yeah, right.
In Baltimore City, there's a significant group in this Northern Avenue area that are black Muslims, and they are very well recognizable from their suits and their ties. Even when it's 100 degrees outside, they are always well dressed, and I'm curious as if that isn't who those gentlemen were. They are literally creating a human wall all to keep what appears to be much younger kids, I hate to say it, teenagers, from breaking into these businesses.
And what they did is they did form a wall outside of this cell phone company, and they pushed them away, and they looked like they were getting in some verbal arguments with some of the protesters or looters. But then they ran across the street to this liquor store, and we saw started swarming around that. So it looked like they were pretty successful in keeping people out of this one store.
Here is hoping that those older gentlemen trying to calm things down are going to stay safe themselves. Exactly. That's a risky move on their part, and we hope that they will stay safe.
Those guys, those gentlemen have in fact made their presence known at several of the locations that we have seen from these helicopter video shots. We're practicing warming up out on the field. And the latest information that we have is that the game is going to continue. There are some fans already in Camden Yards
racing by us, racing from police headquarters. We've seen them coming down one street, heading north. It has been a constant flow of activity. To be honest with you, I'm surprised we haven't seen any sirens while I've been talking, because it has been so busy in terms of a police presence down in this area. But we are in an area where they are dispatching all of the officers. We're in an area where all of the help is being sent out as they determine they need to send it to one street here or another street here. We have seen riot teams, the police SWAT teams, gearing up in this area and then taking off in vans. So this is where the hub of the police activity is being dispatched from. And we have not seen any police sirens in the last few minutes. Of course, we are starting to see a lot of media show up here at police headquarters, but you can hear it now. Leaving from police headquarters, more vans, and as I'm looking at some of these vans, I can see that there are, in fact, officers in the back of some of these. That one looks like it might not have officers. One is full. Here's another SWAT team vehicle, county police, leaving. I'm not sure which agency. I couldn't read the sign on that van. But as you can see, this is what we have been seeing all day long. A number of vehicles heading north as they leave police headquarters, presumably heading to the area where all of the action is, where officers need backup. Back to you.
Tweets from the Baltimore Police Department saying that violent individuals are continuing to throw bricks, bottles, and we saw that our own Christy Aletto was overcome by pepper spray a little while ago. Our sister station, radio station, 99.1, had a reporter injured as well. He is in our newsroom right now with Mary Bubala. Mary?
That's right. Steve Dorsey is with me right now. He's a reporter with WNEW. We share a newsroom together. Steve.
In memory of Freddie Gray.
In fact, one of the ministers presiding over that service came out of the church, which is, as I understand it, about 5 blocks away from where the first disruptions happened, and was visibly quite upset and angry that just a few blocks away from this solemn event, this kind of activity was going on. And he expressed once again not only concern about it, but once again pleaded with these young people to respect Freddie Gray.
And Jim, we're just getting word that the Orioles game has been postponed. Am I saying that correctly? Did I hear that correctly? Just now, so if you are planning to go up to Baltimore and go to the Orioles game, you should change your plans. They have postponed the game to make sure that people stay safe. There was trouble outside of Camden Yards over the weekend related to this whole police violence issue, and I think they're being cautious.
Derek Ward is also in Baltimore right now, has been on the ground there for several hours now. Derek, where are you? What are you seeing and what are you hearing?
Well, Jim, we are outside the Western District Station, a point very critical to all of this whole issue with Freddie Gray. This is the station where this is operated out of that arrested him.
We're obviously having difficulty.
Yeah, you can understand. We're in the Western District Station.
Behind their motives tonight.
To be clear, when I was
at North Avenue and Division, close to that metro stop, it was nothing but chaos. There was no organized demonstration going on. I saw, of course, what you've been seeing in the aerials today, that there's 2 burning police vehicles, both engulfed in flames. I actually saw I saw a fire truck pull up to the scene, stay about 2 minutes, only 2 firefighters on board, and just left. There was really nothing they could do in an uncontrolled, chaotic scene like that. Also, the back of the police van was completely wide open. A witness told me he actually saw someone steal a shotgun out of the van and leave with it. So there's obviously a lot of concern about the type of resources that police have at those areas.
Absolutely, and also just the amount of chaos that was at the scene at that moment, and the vandalism and destruction as we're watching some pictures from earlier today. Steve, thank you so much for coming in to talking to us. I hope you're okay. I hope that you get this looked at.
On occasions we have seen automobiles being vandalized and in fact destroyed a couple of times, including police vehicles set on fire, blazing fires as a matter of fact. It is a very dangerous situation there. These are live pictures right now. Not sure exactly where it is, but as we noted earlier, these disruptors do not stay in one place. They keep moving, and you saw the phalanx of officers around the police station from where Derek was reporting just a couple of minutes ago. It is assumed, as I understand it, that that particular station might be a target of these demonstrations, if there is any organization to it at all, and that's why the police officers are there. For the most part, Baltimore police officers and other law enforcement officials have not moved aggressively to stop the kinds of vandalism and burglaries, well, I guess that's what you call it, breaking into the stores, that have been going on for the last couple of hours. But as noted, there they are, dancing on top of a car.
And you can look at these pictures and clearly see that that a lot of these are young people, some of them apparently coming straight from school. They're carrying backpacks, they're wearing school clothes, some of them on bicycles. So again, we mentioned that Baltimore police are asking parents to ascertain the whereabouts of their children, reach them on their... Oh, this is a picture, we believe, of the CVS store. We've seen a lot of looting happening here, and now it appears, sadly, that there is some fire going on. Let's go to Tisha Thompson at the live desk. Maybe she can tell us more about what's going on.
Wendy, we just got a message from the CVS spokesperson of this CVS who says because of the protest activity, and that was in the 2500 block of Pennsylvania Avenue there, they closed this location earlier this afternoon out of an abundance of caution so that no customers or employees were in that store when the looters broke into it, as we saw forever, them breaking in. And now we see the line of police officers because we never saw them earlier, but now they have moved in to clear out that area, and now that store is smoking.
That is very similar to what we saw earlier today in front of Mondawmin Mall, but now with significantly larger numbers of police officers. Before, the line was about half as wide and half as deep. This is a much larger police presence than we've seen in the past. This is the first building that we have seen on fire. We have seen a limited amount of what we later heard was tear gas or pepper balls is what they called them. The Baltimore City Police called them. This is the most significant thing so far to date in terms of property destruction. We've been seeing looting throughout the afternoon. It's also interesting to note they're now saying 8 police officers were injured. For a long time they were saying 7. That 8th number may be the MTA police lieutenant who was injured here on North Avenue next to the bus station. There were 2 police vehicles that belonged to the MTA, which is the equivalent of the metro system here in D.C. That is the bus system and the metro system up in Baltimore. They have 150 officers on the ground as well, and one of their officers was injured when two of their vehicles were set on fire. The Baltimore City Police, Wendy, are also saying that protesters or demonstrators or whoever these people are in the streets are throwing projectiles like bricks and stones at police cars with officers inside. They had not reported that before. We were also asked to sort of give you an update on the Orioles game, because that does impact quite a few people. I know it seems somewhat trivial to talk about a baseball game, but there are a lot of people that were headed to Baltimore. Yeah, so the White Sox were in town. So was the MLB commissioner, Rob Manfred. He was in town on his regular tour, and he was here for what we're told by our sports department, the first of a series of games. They do plan on having another game tomorrow night at 7 o'clock with the White Sox. So it'll be interesting to see if that goes.
Yeah. Here's the question: where's the fire department? Where are the fire engines? Fire is growing. It's coming up through the roof now.
Yeah, and Doreen, and of course now that the police are close by, when we were watching those two cars burning earlier, they just burned and burned and burned.
Yeah.
And eventually the fire trucks came to put them out, and then they reignited. I'm wondering if, because this is the first time I have seen a police line near this CVS in hours, that if they are just now securing this area to allow them to come in.
We do have an update. WBAL is reporting that they are trying to get the fire department in there now, but it sounds like there are issues with traffic control and people in the street. So hopefully they can figure that out and get the fire engines in there. A fire of this size, the fire alarms must have gone out quite some time ago, and they need to get in there.
Tisha, we are very grateful for your reporting on this, and which we depended on because you did report in Baltimore for some time. Can you tell us if that large building next to the CVS that is burning, is that a residential complex there? It looks like an apartment complex.
To be honest with you, I would have to get a better shot of it, and we're dependent on the Baltimore helicopter right now. But I can tell you that this is a business district. There are a handful of apartments in the area, but there are a lot of students from MICA, the well-known art school in this area as well. It looks to me, Jim, to be one of those situations where you have businesses on the may have apartments on the upper floors, but a CVS is a very large building. This could become a very serious fire because there's so many combustibles inside that fire. I mean, think of all the stuff that's inside a store. Yes, they were looting it, but there's no way they got everything out of that store. So this could become a very serious situation very quickly if the fire departments can't get to it. I would love for the helicopter to pan up, but we're dependent on them, and they're very busy right now to get an idea of what that building is next door, because that could become a big deal right there.
And you see the smoke being expressed through the vents at the top. So that fire, whatever it is, whatever the smoking situation is in there, looks like it's pretty deep inside the store.
Oh, the fire trucks are arriving. There they are. And of course, this is the Baltimore City Fire Department. Okay, so that's a ladder truck. That's a significant truck.
Tisha, give us an idea of the demographics of the area where all of this is happening right now.
Yeah, so this is real Baltimore. This is not tourist Baltimore. This isn't the Baltimore that you see when you go to an Orioles game or you go to see, the boat in the water. This is farther up the road. This is about 25 to 30, I'd say about 25 blocks north. If you made a cross with your hands, this is right in the middle of the city, and this is a predominantly black neighborhood, but I wouldn't call this a poor neighborhood. I mean, Baltimore has a variety of neighborhoods. They go very quickly from wealthy to pretty impoverished. All of a sudden, you'll be in a poor part of town that has a lot of abandoned homes. This is not that area. This is actually a pretty busy, alive place. This
building, it is the Penn North Plaza Senior Building.
Dear.
It is like an old folks home there. So you can imagine the anxiety there tonight as this building down below is on fire. So it's
very difficult maneuver for these fire departments, because if you're dealing with a senior center, you're dealing with individuals who do not have the ability necessarily to move themselves. They may need to be transported transported in their beds or in wheelchairs. They may not be able to rely on elevators.
As I look at this scene, I'm thinking how difficult it is to be a firefighter in this situation.
Yeah.
The police do not appear to have the crowd under control. They have a line, but if you're a firefighter arriving on this scene, you're worried about your safety in the fire, and you're also worried about your safety from the crowds who you know have already thrown enough rocks and debris to injure 7 or 8 police and transit officers.
I have to tell you, Doreen, you just saw a very interesting cross there. You just saw a Baltimore City fire vehicle, which you see right there, cross paths with a Baltimore City police armored vehicle. And this is such an interesting dynamic in cities like Baltimore. I would even say in places like Washington, where the police and the fire department are treated very differently by their community. The fire department comes and puts the fire out in your neighborhood, and oftentimes they do find themselves in very dangerous situations, but I would say more often than not, Wendy, and tell me if your experience is differently, people tend to respect the fire department in these situations a little more.
You. I mean,
yeah,
the police
they're here to
but
put the fire
they're
out.
Specifically to put out a fire, and I'm sure they're going to give them access to this. Also, I have something from President Obama is pledging the federal government's help. He has talked to the Baltimore's mayor, Stephanie Rawlings Blake, and he and his new attorney general, Loretta Lynch, were in the Oval Office earlier today watching this unfold live when the rioting was really at some of its more dramatic points earlier than not that this is not dramatic.
What I keep coming back to, Doreen and Jim, is this began by what appears to have been high school students in an organized social media campaign based on reporting by our sister affiliate.
Here we are on the day of the funeral for Freddie Gray, watching. It is just heartbreaking to see this happening so close to home.
And it is important to know
a little bit. They're trying to regain access and control of this intersection. This is the intersection where the looting was taking place at the CVS. The CVS now on fire. The fire department is on the scene. Baltimore City Fire Department was able to get a bumper truck and a ladder truck in here. The ladder truck has elevated to the roof of this building, so they'll be working on that. We will be keeping an eye on that. But this is a face-to-face standoff between Baltimore City Police, other police departments, whoever's down there, and against some of the people that are down in the street. Now, one of the things that I noticed is the dress of the people that are down there. A lot of the people that had their arms locked that were standing along the street there appeared to be dressed in suits, whereas most of the people that we've been seeing looting and starting these fires were dressed more in casual attire. So I don't know what that means, don't know where this group of people came from. They sure are acting differently than the other group that was that we saw here earlier. Now that group has moved westbound on north. They are up at Fulton. They were, and I believe I can see that they still are looting an Easy Mart on the corner of Fulton and North Avenue. The Baltimore City Police helicopter flying very low over that scene, keeping an eye on that. That group does seem to be getting a little bit smaller, but they're moving. It appears as though they're starting to work their way southbound on Fulton. So they are working through this, through West Baltimore here. Systematically going from one place to another. Now there's a large group. We don't know what they may be moving, but when we see them gather like that, it usually means that they're getting ready to break into a business, or they gather like that or start moving quickly when they're about to vandalize a vehicle. They seem to be walking past civilian vehicles. We haven't seen only one. We've only seen one civilian vehicle that was burned. That was up by the Mondawmin Mall. Mostly their target here seems to be the police.
saw the two lines of people, it appeared that the lines of people in the suits and so forth are actually assisting police in keeping folks back. And I think the police were actually moving their line down so that they could provide protection for the firefighters to gain access to the CVS. Is that what you think as well?
Well, it's more of a face-off because you could see that the people who are in the suits may have been keeping the rioters from approaching the police, but the police, when they advance forward, they move that line back as well. It's very important for the police to allow the fire department to get in here to take care of this CVS, so that's why they moved when they did. As far as we can tell, they pushed that line back far enough where at least they've created a line of safety for the people near that building, because people that are not dressed in firefighting gear have no reason being that close to a burning building, and that's everybody knows that.
Okay.
We're going to, and just a couple of things that you mentioned earlier, Vic, that library right there. Apparently now the library has been evacuated. They've been able to get everyone out of it. And also there are a couple of other CVS's in the area that wisely have had their employees go home and they've closed them down. Our reporter, Christy Aletto, is on the ground, and we believe you're near this intersection. Are you, Christy, at North Avenue? Yeah, we're near the fire. I see the smoke behind you.
That's right, Denise. We are right by North Avenue and Pennsylvania. We're actually like a block down because we're at Woodbrook Avenue. We didn't want to get too close just because the smoke was so heavy, and we didn't want to be inhaling that. But I mean, it's good. It's a good sign that we're seeing that there's no longer black smoke. The smoke is so bad that we can't even see that far down the road. I mean, that is how bad this situation is. I actually spoke to one person who was carrying a bunch of items from CVS, and I stopped him and I said, "Are those items from CVS? Did you just loot?" And he's like, "No, ma'am, I didn't loot. This is stuff that the rioters, the looters put outside of the CVS." And I was like, "So you thought that was okay to take?" And he's like, "Yeah, I did, because if I didn't take it, somebody else was going to take it." So that was his justification for taking the items outside of CVS. I mean, I was pretty flabbergasted to hear it myself. Here we go. This is another fire truck that's trying to get into this scene to kind of put this fire out. I don't know what type of alarm this is, but I mean, obviously it's bad enough where we can't really see into that intersection. That is just how bad that smoke is. Back to you.
Did you walk from the Mondawmin area to there, or did you drive? And what was it like en route?
We drove. We drove.
And what was it like on route?
We took back roads because we couldn't get out. Well, we couldn't get out onto Liberty Heights Road, so we had to go out the back way of Mondawmin Mall, and then we took Monroe down. And once we got to Monroe and North Avenue, you could see there were a lot of people just congregating on North Avenue. We didn't know what was going on. We actually saw a liquor store getting looted too, and little kids. I mean, these kids looked like they were in, I would say, middle school or even teenagers, carrying alcohol and drinking it. So we saw a lot of that. We tried to steer clear from that intersection, and then we went kind of where the Gilmore homes were, where all of this kind of, what kind of set this off, which is where Freddie Gray was arrested. And then we made our way further down past this. Ooh, somebody just threw a alcohol bottle. Tried to throw it at the fire EMS truck that just passed us. But we made our way back up on North Avenue, and this is the scene. I mean, there are people that are standing out watching what's going on. Obviously, the fire crews are trying to pass to put this fire out. It's very chaotic. This is not, Denise, you know, you were out there. I mean, we were doing this on Saturday. You know how chaotic it was, but it's nothing like Saturday. Nothing.
Right. No, this has clearly this has exploded and is extremely dangerous. And we're trying to get a sense of how contained this is. When you were driving to that area, does it seem like it's in that general area? That area, North Avenue, again, Cary, Fulton, Pennsylvania Avenue. Does it seem like it is contained?
Right. It seems like what was going on at Mondawmin has now gone down to North Avenue, because we came down Monroe and then we got onto Fulton, North Avenue and Fulton, and that's kind of where we saw a lot of people just kind of standing in the street, and that's where we saw the liquor store being looted. We kept driving past it because we didn't want to stop our car. We weren't sure if people were going to start coming towards us, and we didn't want to risk our news vehicle getting swarmed. So we kept going down Fulton, and we ended up hitting the Gilmore homes. And of course, we all know the Gilmore homes is where Freddie Gray got arrested, and that's what set this entire thing in motion. and we made our way through there and then came back. But I mean, it's just very chaotic. You're seeing people walking with liquor bottles in their hands that aren't adults, and then you're seeing lots of people carting off items that are in CVS bags.
Okay, Christy, thank you. We're going to keep you there for a little bit. We're going to go right now down to Amy Yancey. She is downtown as well. Amy, tell us where you are and what you're seeing where you are.
Pratt and Light. We're not seeing a lot of protesters or any acts of vandalism at the Inner Harbor, but there is still a heavy police presence. Let's take you right across the street where there are one of several clusters of police officers in riot gear, and they're also covering corner to corner and the perimeter surrounding the entire Inner Harbor. In fact, they're even blocking the entrance. And as you recall, the gallery suffered some damage over the weekend, and perhaps that is why they are protecting this area. And now, as you can see, there's a group that's moving in here. Nate, if you could turn, they're moving to join the other several dozen officers that are standing by, creating a sort of blockade. And as you know, this is a very busy foot traffic and pedestrian traffic area, and we're not seeing as many people as you would ordinarily see down here. The tension is definitely palpable. We are not seeing any damage, as I said, or any vandalism or any protesters, but it's better safe than sorry, as they say. So that's why you see such a heavy police presence here at the Inner Harbor. Vic, back to you.
Much. Amy Yancey, who's downtown, and as you see, they are prepared should there be any problem. But right now, everything is contained to one area that's over near Mondawmin Mall. And this is the scene that we've been seeing quite a bit for a while. Sky Chopper 13 over the CVS that has been on fire now for about 30 minutes, I guess, as well as a number of car fires. Clearly, they're getting some water in there, and looks like they're trying to get the situation under control. Jeff?
Yeah, it's still on fire, and fire department here working. They haven't been able to vent the roof here. Once they do, it'll be interesting to see what happens, but there's a lot of black smoke coming out of this. So this fire could have been started near the back of the store on the inside, and this is one of the few entrances in here. So we can't really tell, but we can guess from looking at the amount of smoke coming from the roof and from the front entrance here that this is a very large fire on the inside of this store, and this store most likely be a total loss. Now, the police did secure this corner so that the fire department could get in here and do their job. They created a line. They pushed through Pennsylvania at North, and there was a crowd that was sort of standing off right at that intersection, and the police just moved forward, and they moved on backwards. And right now we're not seeing any violence at this intersection. This is mostly the focus of the fire here with a large police presence, and most of the I just got a report that we're being asked by the police to back off a little bit, and we're at 2,000 feet, which is really high, but we're going to go ahead and try to back off a little bit here and see how far they want us away. Fulton and North is where most of the activity is. That's about a full block, full city block to the west, and there you can see that's where most of the activity is right now. And right now I'm going to get on the other radio, so I have to kind of coordinate and see where our location's going to be as far as how close we can get to this.
Okay, do what you need to do there. Obviously be safe and follow whatever rules are required. We're getting some tweets now from citizens who are watching our coverage and have identified that line of men in suits were part of the Nation of Islam, and they were actually assisting police and firefighters and trying to create a line so that the protesters would move back, as well as give access to the firefighters to be able to get to that CVS.
And going on at Center Streets, Charles Streets, we have not heard reports of that, but people have been witnessing it, which is disturbing to hear because we had been under the impression that the mass of violence may be contained in one area. We have
Congressman Elijah Cummings he's been on national media talking about the situation. He's with Derek Valcourt right now down at City Hall. Derek?
Yeah, Congressman Cummings, obviously you're following all the developments today. First off, what is your initial reaction? What do you want to say to the people of Baltimore as you witness all this unfold?
We're better than this, and I know that people are upset, but this is not the way to bring about change. The funeral today was a very respectful funeral. The family requested that there be no protest today whatsoever. And now when we see policemen being hit and stores being broken into and burned, that's not who we are. And so I'm asking people to refrain from that. This is our city. After all the cameras are gone, we still have to live here. And sadly, a lot of the businesses that are being destroyed are where their neighbors and friends work, and in the neighborhoods where they live. And it just makes absolutely no sense. And again, I've talked to Valerie Jarrett at the White House today. She gave me a call a very short while ago to assure me that the President and the Justice Department would make the Justice Department personnel available to us at any time. And so all we have to do is call. So, I'm sure they've communicated that to the mayor, and then the mayor will make that decision. But hopefully we will be able to get some justice people in to reassure the community that the investigation on the federal level will be very thorough, and that hopefully we'll have a Ferguson-type pattern and practice investigation of the police department, and try to make sure that we do things the way they should be done. We know for a fact that Mr. Gray was not strapped in, and he probably should have never been arrested. We know that. And we also know that he had some very serious injuries and he died. And I think people, from walking around and talking to people, the thing they're most upset about is the idea that there was a police report that initially said that he was arrested without force and without incident. And I think that just caused people to really get upset. And a number of people just haven't gotten over that. But there's no excuse whatsoever for burning buildings, breaking windows, and throwing anything at a policeman. I think they create a very dangerous situation.
One of the things we're seeing, of course, is that this is a lot of young people out there. Now, we're not sure their exact ages.
I don't care how old they are. It doesn't make any difference. People know better than to be breaking into stores and burning buildings and putting themselves in danger and putting the police in danger. That's a problem. I'm sorry. You will never get me to say that just because somebody is young, that's the kind of conduct that's acceptable. Because what it does is it puts them in a situation where they can be harmed, they can be arrested, and it's not good for our community. And by the way, it takes away, it basically becomes a distraction for what we have to be about, the business of doing, and that is keeping one Baltimore together.
And as we go on, obviously, this is Monday. There weren't even supposed to be any kind of protest
That's
today.
exactly right.
Are you worried as we go forward? We've got, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
I promise you, we will bring this under control. I'm about to meet with about 150 ministers who are anxious and ready to do a lot to try to work with the community. I just finished talking to some young people who are wanting to pull together about 300 of the leaders of some of this stuff that want to sit down and talk to the mayor and yours truly. And so we're going to get out of it, but we've got work to do. But understand, there are people who are very upset. And so, but on the one hand, we've got to maintain order. On the other hand, we've got to assure people that what happened to Freddie Gray will not happen again, period.
Well, Congressman Elijah Cummings speaking to us from outside of City Hall, where there is quite a large police presence, and there is going to be a bit more response from city police and other law enforcement agencies helping out as the evening goes on. Back to you.
Derek, I wonder if we can ask you to ask Elijah Cummings one more question there, and that is, if the ministers are meeting, is it reasonable to assume that they will have any power to bring this under control? Can the ministers really do anything?
The question the anchors are asking, if the ministers and a meeting with a large group of ministers, do they have any power to help bring this under control? How can they help?
They've got a lot of power. You got to remember, all of these churches that they represent have a lot of men. I know my church in and of itself probably has about 3,000 men in it. And so it's a matter of organizing and then working with the police to see how they want us to assist them. We're gonna, no matter what we're gonna do, we're gonna have to make sure that we're effective and efficient in whatever we do. We don't want to put anybody in danger, but the police, I know, will welcome some help, and they just have to let us know what they want us to do.
Thank you very much, Congressman. He's got a busy schedule. He has other interviews to do, so I'm going to let him go.
All right, thank you, Derek. And I know that there has been a call, as Vic was saying earlier, for leaders of religions across the board to come together to try and calm down this crowd. And among them, the head of our local Catholic Archdiocese, Archbishop William Laurie, who I understand is on the phone with us. Are you there, Archbishop?
Yes, I am.
What is your appeal? What is your message to anyone who may be listening who is a member of your faith?
Certainly, it is first of all an appeal for peace. Nothing is accomplished by violence. Certainly, there are big issues to be addressed, long-standing issues. Certainly, we need to get to the bottom of this whole situation. But violence is certainly not the answer. The second message I have is prayer. One of the things that brings us together as a community is prayer. And thirdly, we have a large presence in the city, in many parishes, schools, social service agencies, and I think that we need to be 11 in the community to do everything that we can to bring about a peaceful and swift resolution to this very, very difficult situation.
Archbishop, this is Vic Carter speaking. What do you plan to do? Do you plan to join these ministers and join with them as they try to rally men to help work with police to bring the situation under control? What exactly does the Catholic Church plan to do?
A couple of things. First of all, Bishop Madden, who is the auxiliary bishop, has been involved in all of these meetings. Secondly, I'm planning and have begun to call the pastors in the city. Thirdly, I think our priests are already working hard on working with their own congregations, again, to be places of safety, places of prayer, and places that bear witness to the need for proceeding peacefully. Yes, expressing views and expressing anguish and even expressing anger, but in a way that is ultimately peaceful.
Have you had any of your parishes or your schools involved in any of this? Have you suffered any damage?
Not to my knowledge, no. Not to my knowledge. But I must say I look with the greatest sorrow and anguish as I see the destruction of property and the endangerment of innocent people. I've been in Baltimore beginning now my 4th year. I love this city deeply. I've always loved it. And it grieves me and it grieves the people I serve deeply to see this really sad state of affairs.
Yeah, yes, I think everyone's heart is heartbroken by this. We thank you so much, Archbishop. We do appreciate you talking with us, and we'll be speaking with you again. We're going to go now to our reporter, however, Christy Aletto, who is on the ground. Last time we talked to you, Christy, you were near the scene of that CVS fire. Has it been brought under control? Do you have any way of knowing? Christy?
Yes, I would definitely say it has been brought under control. The smoke is kind of dissipated a little bit, which is why we were able to get a little bit closer. But let's just talk about the damage. This isn't even the CVS damage. This is the MTA police truck that was on fire. This is that van. We got up here. It was completely charged, and we didn't even know if the car in front of that was a civilian car or police car. But here you go. This is a police car. That's because we saw a citation booklet that was on the sidewalk. Now up here again, you can see all of the fire crews and a line of police because they don't want people to go past because, again, the fire department is still trying to put out those hot spots at the CVS store. But again, this is the damage that's all unfolding because of, I guess, from what happened with Freddie Gray and then these children out here who said that they were going to have a march from Endowment Mall to the avenue, obviously that escalated, and this is what you're seeing. These are the remnants of what has happened from that alleged march. Denise and Vic?
Yes, yeah, that's horrible damage. Now your cameraman is showing us, or camera person, the line of officers, and is that the intersection of North and Pennsylvania?
Yes, this is also at the intersection of North and Pennsylvania. We are on the west side of that intersection, and yes.
You can see more of the fire trucks in the distance there, more of the smoke that's all over this section of West Baltimore here tonight. I can't even begin to tell you the damage that has been done to that CVS. We have actually seen prescriptions just looted all over the place in the neighborhood around here because the CVS was looted, then it caught fire. So right now these police officers trying to protect the community as well as the firefighters as they try to put this fire out at this CVS. Again, I'm at the corner of West North Avenue and Pennsylvania Avenue, a major intersection here in Baltimore where they're still trying to get the fire out at the CVS nearby here. Kelly Lynn.
All right, Tom, be careful out there. Thank you very much. This is a Prince George's County tactical vehicle. It's been here for about 10 minutes. We saw a long line, a caravan of Prince George's County police cruisers and in at least one of these tactical units. If you look here on the passenger side of this vehicle, you can see wet substance of some sort, and also on the passenger side window there looks to be some type of rock residue. These vehicles are just targets. They drive down the street. They're obviously heavily fortified, but people we've seen throw anything in sight, whether it's sticks or stones or bottles at these vehicles because they know who's inside and they are clearly upset with the police. This is a tire and auto mechanic shop. You can actually see one of the employees here. This news camera may be in the way, but he is sitting on the top of a trailer that is in the lot here. But when we arrived at this location right around 6 o'clock, the employees here were frantically trying to lock the gates of this mechanic shop because they saw what happened at CVS, which is just about 200 or 300 feet from where I'm standing right now, and they surely did not want it to happen at their store as well. So those gates are now locked. On the other side of the street here on Pennsylvania Avenue, 2600 block, you see citizens that are standing here. Some, including this gentleman with the dreadlocks, are filming with their cell phone the situation, the scene that is unfolding. So much chaos, so much uncertainty in the city of Baltimore this evening. There are people that are just standing out peacefully, looking at the scene as any of us would do if this was unfolding on the block that we lived on.
Baltimore, it's a fluid situation. We're going to continue to cover it live, and NBC Nightly News is going to run on Cozy. So you can still see NBC Nightly News if you'd like, and that is going to be available on the Cozy channel.
What we're noticing now is that crowd is on the move again. It was kind of stationary for just a couple of minutes, and now appears to be on the move again. Tisha, I don't want to ask you an unfair question, but do you have any idea to what they may be moving?
Well,
I mean, go ahead.
We've heard reports. WBAL, Channel 11 up in Baltimore, our sister station, had heard reports that they might be moving south towards Martin Luther King, but it's hard to tell from this helicopter shot exactly why they're going, but that's why they took the preventative measures. There's a good map. That'll give you an idea. So they might be moving south below that yellow section on the bottom there. They began up at Mondawmin Mall, which is up there by the Maryland Zoo. They then walked about 10 blocks south to North Avenue, and the question is are they continuing to move south? But Wendy just showed up because I think she knows exactly where they might be going.
Actually, I have Governor Hogan, Maryland Governor Larry Hogan has now declared a state of emergency, and he's activating the National Guard.
So there you go. So that is a very significant event. To activate the National Guard, that they have been holding off on that. Now, the Maryland National Guard, ironically, we were just there last week We were interviewing the Adjutant General. Her name is Linda Singh. She was just put into that position 3 months ago in January. She is the first woman and the first African-American Adjutant General in the state of Maryland. She's a 30-year veteran. She came from Frederick. That's where she grew up. She lives in Prince George's County, and her headquarters are just down the street from where all of this is happening at the, some people may be familiar with the Maryland Health Department complex in the city. They may have to do business up there. She's right across the street in a very large castle-looking building, the Maryland National Guard Armory. So this will be interesting to see what happens next.
All right, Tisha and Wendy, thank you very much. You're looking at live pictures right now of a rather large crowd and growing, moving towards a liquor store and seem to be trying to crowd their way into that store.
There they go.
Presume it is to continue the looting process that began, I don't know, maybe a couple of hours ago now.
We understand Shamari Stone has an interview with